If you would, if you're not already muted, maybe mute yourselves now so we don't conflict with each other. When you're muted, please go ahead and sing along with me. Kol od balevav penima nefesh Yehudi homia ulfate mizrach kadima ein letzion tzofia עוד לא אבדה תקוותנו, התקווה בת שנות 2000, להיות עם חופשי בארצנו, ארץ ציון וירושלים. להיות עם חופשי בארצנו, ארץ ציון וירושלים. Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Good morning and a warm welcome to all of you who are joining us from all around the country and from abroad. Thank you, Cantor Kaplan, for the beautiful and moving renditions of the Hatikva and the Star-Spangled Banner. My name is Hannah Pfeffer, and I'm the president of the Fraternal Order of Bendin-Sosnowicer, or FOBS for short. I'm a second-generation member and the daughter of Rosa Zimberknopf-Plauner from Benjin and Felix Plauner of blessed memory from Grudgetz. On behalf of all our officers and executive board members, welcome to our third virtual Yizkor commemoration. I know that many of you are disappointed that we were not able to resume our in-person Yizkor this year. We were very disappointed as well. But because of logistical issues and staffing shortages at Beth Israel Cemetery, we could not implement our required setup. In retrospect, though, looking at today's miserable weather, the Zoom Yizkor is a blessing in disguise. On a positive note, we are planning to be back at Beth Israel next year, God willing, and hope to see you all in person once again. Shana Tova. Last week, we welcomed in the new year 5783 with hope and prayers for a sweet year of abundant health, a happy life, success, and all good things for ourselves and our families. May we all be inscribed and sealed in the book of life for a year of new beginnings, joy, success, and peace. Amen. Although we're not together in person today, we are united in our shared legacy as descendants of Holocaust survivors from the cities and towns of Zagłębie. We're together as a community to remember and to honor the memory of our family members who were murdered. They did not live to see their dreams come true. We are united in reciting Kaddish for our grandparents, aunts, uncles, and cousins, whose names we proudly carry. We never had a chance to get to know them, but they have not been forgotten. Keeping their memory alive is our responsibility. We're together to fulfill the sacred obligation of Zacks, to remind the world of what happened to our families and to the 6 million innocent men, women, and children who were exterminated simply because they were Jewish. We are here to bear witness for all our survivors who are no longer with us, to keep their memories alive for future generations. And we're here to pay tribute to our survivors. Our survivors are our heroes. They taught us that it is possible to start all over again, despite having endured unspeakable horrors and evil, despite having suffered heartbreaking losses. They rebuilt their lives out of the ashes. They created new families. They lived a life that matters. Their powerful will to live, their resilience, determination, courage, hope, and humanity are an inspiration to all of us. They have instilled in us the moral values and the sacred responsibility of Zacks that ensures our continuity from generation to generation. We are proud that our 2Gs, 3Gs, and 4Gs are committed to participating in our memorial service year after year. They are eager to share with us the stories they heard growing up as the son or daughter of Holocaust survivors, or as the grandchild or great-grandchild. They are eager to bear witness to the stories and memories of our survivors so that the world never forgets, so that we can pass on the lessons of what happens when the world is silent. In this time of great economic challenges, it is heartwarming to know that our members' commitment to remembrance, to Holocaust education, and to tzedakah is unwavering. We are grateful to our FOBS community who so generously support our annual Yizkor appeal year after year. Record contributions last year allowed us to donate generous sums to 2 charities that directly support Holocaust survivors, both here in the New York area and in Israel: Self-Help and UJA's Community Initiative for Holocaust Survivors. We were also able to distribute smaller grants to 6 other charities, among them Magen David Adom, Blue Card, Dorot, Met Council on Jewish Poverty, and Yad Sarah, all organizations that are aligned with our mission. The extraordinary generosity of our FOBS community has allowed us to donate over $350,000 to various charities these past 12 years. That is an exemplary accomplishment for a small organization such as ours. It is a tribute to our shared history and our deeply held commitment to remember and never forget. It is a testament to our sacred obligation to care for our survivors and those in need. Before we begin the service, I would like to express our deep gratitude to all the participants in this virtual service who are joining us from their homes all over the country and from abroad. Special thanks to our Zoom co-hosts, Jeremy Pfeffer and Gerald Zacks, for managing the program. Thank you to Alan Pensack for being here with us to provide technical help for anyone who has trouble logging in or is experiencing audiovisual issues. If you need help, please call Alan at 914-623-8121. We can put that in the chat box for anyone who needs help. And of course, we wish to acknowledge the tremendous efforts and dedication of all our board members who work behind the scenes to make this Zoom service happen. And one final point of information, this service is being recorded. The link to the YouTube video will be made available to you in the next few days. It will also be posted on our FOBS Facebook page and our newly created website, about which you will hear a little bit later. I would now like to introduce our second generation speaker. Unfortunately, Renee Bronner-Pessin, who was scheduled to speak, came down with pneumonia a few days ago. Her son, Jacob Pessin, will read her prepared remarks. We wish Renee a speedy recovery.
Hi, so Renee is doing well. She's just a little hoarse. These are her prepared remarks. Never forget. As I grew up surrounded by these words, as we all did, never forget, so it can't happen again to us Jews. Holocaust survivor, scholar, and Nobel Peace Prize winner Elie Wiesel, who we all greatly admire, thought more broadly. He said, I was in France for many years, always a refugee. Only here, in the United States, that I become a citizen. And I must tell that I feel nothing but gratitude for this country. The first country that offered me home and a refuge. The 20th century has created so many symbols, so many new concepts. It has also created a new human species, the refugee. Now, what is the characteristics of a refugee? Is that she or he has no citizenship. Hundreds of thousands, if not millions of human beings have felt overnight unwanted. Nothing can be more painful than being unwanted everywhere, undesired. And this is what a refugee is. In light of the national and global geopolitical climate, including the refugee crises around the world, Elie Wiesel eloquently said in accepting his Nobel Prize in 1986, we must always take sides. Neutrality helps the oppressor, never the victim. Silence encourages the tormentor, never the tormented. Sometimes we must interfere. When human lives are endangered, when human dignity is in jeopardy, national borders and sensitivities must become irrelevant. When men or women are persecuted because of their race, religion, or political views, that place must, at that moment, become the center of the universe. This is a lesson that so aptly applies to today's realities. These are words that must not be forgotten. Refugees are in need from all over the world, from South and Central America, Afghanistan, Ukraine, and much, much more. The US welcomed their parents and grandparents with open arms. Now is our turn to do the same. Both governments and ordinary citizens must stand up and recognize the lessons of the past, because we all know what happens when society remains silent and allows hatred and others to be spread its wings. As I feel blessed to walk freely among our streets or the woods, pushing a stroller or holding hands with my family, I think of the plight of those, for instance, detained along with our southern border, carrying their children behind barbed wire fences, or parents facing deportation and unable to see their children. I am struck by the maze, which is the US immigration and naturalization process. For example, the family I'm working with who fled Afghanistan in August. I think about what they would be doing if they hadn't had a local organization supporting their path to asylum and citizenship. Many left their families behind due to emergency evacuation conditions and must work toward reunification of immigrant families. This process takes years, even with immigration attorneys. I think about those who don't have supportive housing or other necessities for living without fear. As xenophobia and extreme nationalism continue to sweep our country and the globe, there are hundreds of thousands of refugees far from their families and the places they once called home. The horror faced by today's refugees are different from those suffered by during the Holocaust, as are the risks faced by today's bystanders. But one fact remains the same. It is all too easy for ordinary citizens to turn a blind eye to the plight of refugees. We must never forget the consequences of standing idly by as refugees fleeing for their lives are forgotten by those unwilling to risk their own comfort for the safety of others. As Jews, and especially as the descendants of Holocaust survivors, we should let the model of Elie Wiesel and perhaps the ancient model of Passover, as well as our spiritual traditions, be our guide for welcoming refugees. The ancient Israelites fled oppression and violence in Egypt, seeking safety and opportunity in Israel. As my rabbi recently wrote in Genesis 18, Abraham ran to welcome strangers into his tent. In Numbers 15:15, we are reminded that citizens and strangers are the same before God. We are commanded 36 times to support the stranger, the widow, the orphan. Most familiar to us perhaps is Leviticus 19:18, where we're commanded not to love your neighbor as thyself. But, sorry, we are commanded to love others. None of these commandments are dependent on immigration status. The memory of our relatives who perished and honor and those of us who survived is our responsibility to help in the refugee struggle in policies and in substance. We used to support refugees because they were Jewish. Now we support refugees because we are Jewish. My family and I wish you all a healthy and happy new year.
Thank you, Jacob. Lashana Tova, wishing everyone a warm and sweet new year. My name is Jackie Algazi, daughter of Jeanette and David Cohen, and granddaughter of survivors Renee Silverstein of Radomsko, Poland, and the late Edward Silverstein of Maluka, Poland. For as long as I can remember, my family has been making the trip to Woodbridge, New Jersey between the holidays. Whether it was rain or shine, cold or hot, we'd come to Beth Israel. Admittedly, when I was younger, I don't think I understood the true importance of this gathering. However, as the years went on, and particularly when my sister Shanna became involved on the board of FOBS, did I truly understand the role I needed to play in sharing my grandmother, or as I refer to her as Nanny, story and raising awareness of the Holocaust so that we and future generations shall never forget. My nanny is one of the strongest women I know. She lost her entire family, mother, father, brothers, grandparents in the war, yet pushed forward, married my papi after liberation, and came to New York and built a successful business while raising my mom. To me, she is an icon of beauty and perseverance. I'm incredibly blessed to have my nanny still here today at almost 98 years young. To be able to hear her voice, listen to her sharp advice, and share my two sons, Ethan and Teddy, with her is a true gift. All of my favorite holiday memories include Nanny, her house smelling like dill and matzo ball soup, chocolate babka and apple cake on the table, and the trips to and from Queens for visits. While Nanny didn't speak of the war often, as she wanted to shield us from her pain, I, along with my sister as third-generation survivors, have the job of teaching future generations our Nanny's story and the story of the 6 million Jews who perished in the Holocaust. Soon, the last survivors will be gone, and we need to continue to uphold and honor the legacy of those before us, sharing stories and educating those who don't know. One way in which my husband Jason and I wanted to honor our family is by naming our children Ethan and Teddy after our grandparents who were the epitome of strength. Ethan, who is now 6, is named after my grandfather and survivor Edward. The name Ethan means firm, enduring, strong, and long-lived in Hebrew. All of these characteristics were found in my grandfather, and we see those shining through in Ethan. Our youngest son, Teddy, who is 4, is named after my husband Jason's grandmother, Tony. While she is not a Holocaust survivor, she fled from Cairo, Egypt in 1966 to escape anti-Semitism. She hosted weekly Shabbat dinners and holidays where she shared her Jewish Sephardic culinary and religious traditions with which our family continues to emulate today. Both Edward and Tony endured the unimaginable, and we felt it was important to keep their legacy and strength alive in our children. In 1998, my nanny spoke to my sister's middle school class, and she quoted Steven Spielberg and said, "It is painful to remember, but easy to forget." Thank you to FOBS for all your hard work and dedication to ensure that programs such as these exist and that we shall never forget. Thank you for your time today and wishing everyone a sweet and warm and happy new year. I'm happy to pass this along to Cantor Kaplan for Psalm 23.
מזמור לדוד. אדוני רואי לא אחסר, בינות דשא ירביצני, על מי מנוחות ינהלני. נפשי שובב ינחני במגלי צדק, למען שמו. גם כי אלך בגץ על מוות, לא אירא רע, כי אתה עמדי. שבטך ומשענתך המה ינחמוני, תערוך לפני שולחן נגד צורריי, דשנת בשמן ראשי. כוסי רוויה, אך טוב וחסד ירדפוני כל ימי חיי, ושבתי בבית אדוני לאורך ימים.
My name is Noah Pfeffer. I am 12 years old and I am fourth generation survivor. I am the great grandson of Felix Planner of blessed memory and of Rosa Planner, my nonna. I am also the great grandson of co-president Hannah Pfeffer. As I grow older and learn more about what my great grandparents went through and about all of the close relatives we lost, I've come to understand how truly fortunate I am to have such a close relationship with my great grandmother. This has been such a blessing, not only because she is an incredible person, but because I know my father did not get to meet his great-grandparents, and my grandmother, my Momo, never knew her grandparents. I cherish my relationship with my Nana, especially getting to celebrate her 100th birthday this year. We have shared so many things together over the years. I learned to ride my bike in her driveway, and I first learned to play the piano in her house. And I was very grateful that she gave me her beautiful piano that I play every day. I also had the honor of walking her down the aisle at my cousin Matt's wedding. That is something I will never forget. I've also had many conversations with her about her childhood and about her experiences in the Holocaust. She's been more than willing to tell me stories as I have gotten older, which has been so meaningful to me. I'm particularly interested in history, so as I have learned more about World War II and about the Holocaust, her stories have helped shape my understanding of that horrible time. And I'm committed to making sure that I pass along these stories to my children and grandchildren so that we never forget. My family has taught me the importance of telling these stories, and I know I have the responsibility to carry on their legacy. I'm now starting to prepare for my bar mitzvah next year. I recognize that many Jewish boys did not have the same opportunity. For my bar mitzvah project, I want to work with a group at my synagogue that is helping refugees from Ukraine and Afghanistan resettle in the United States. Knowing that my great-grandparents were refugees and that my grandmother and aunt were immigrants to the United States, this subject is particularly important to me and my family. They know firsthand what it means to lose their families and their homes. I want to help others in similar situations. Thank you very much for the opportunity to speak to you today. I've attended this service for my entire life, and I'm so happy I finally had the chance to speak. Promise I will do my part to make sure we never forget.
Thank you. Thank you. Hello, my name is Orly Zucker, and I'm a fourth generation Holocaust survivor. I've always been involved in learning and teaching about the Holocaust. My grandparents are Alan and Judy Zacks. My grandpa's parents were Bubba Lily, as we called her, and Shia Zacks. They were both survivors of the Holocaust and helped establish the monument where we usually gather for this annual Yizkor service. When I was younger, I remember seeing the tattoo on my Bubba's arm and not completely understanding it. Now that I do, the mere idea of it makes me feel sick. Even with all of these horrors, my great-grandparents were extremely lucky that they survived, but not everyone was. I am named after my Bubba's sister, Ita, my middle name being Alana. My mom didn't know that her Bubba Lily had a sister until she was pregnant with me. It was then that she found out my Bubba had a sister. Ita was 16 years old when she and her mother were killed in Poland. Ita stayed back to hide her mother, but they were found and killed. I was bat mitzvahed almost a year ago, and in my Devar Torah, I spoke about remembering important women's legacies. I spoke of Bilhah and Zilpah, who were also mothers of Jacob's children in the Bible, but were forgotten and hardly spoken of. Besides Bilhah and Zilpah, I also spoke about my great aunt Ita. You see, if my mom had never found out about Ita, her legacy and memory may have been forgotten. I am here to make sure that all of these people who were killed in the Holocaust are never forgotten. It is so important that I hold on to their memories along with my great-grandparents because I am part of the future of the Jewish community. Some people whose families were not directly affected by the Holocaust may see the horrors differently. Some people don't know that it happened or just don't think it was that bad. This was because they were never educated on it, but that educating others is my job as a fourth-generation survivor. Thank you and Shana Tova. Now I'd like to turn the program over to Lorraine Kaufman for the candle lighting ceremony.
Thank you. Shana Tova. Ich wünsche euch a gut gewünscht and gesinnt Jahr. You should have a blessed year and a healthy year. My name is Lorraine Ruth Kaufman.
Sorry, Lorraine, you're muted.
Whoa. Okay. As I was saying, I'm the youngest child of Tabula and Herzka Kaufman of blessed memory from Sosnowice and Patzanów, Poland. We are blessed today to have as part of our candle lighting ceremony 2 survivors. And first I want to say something to them and to all the survivors that are on our FOBS Zoom today. Your lives have been our blessing. Your suffering is something we, your children, have been trying to understand all of our lives. We have tried our best, and intellectually, we think we understand the nightmare you lived through. However, the darkness, pain, and anguish of your Holocaust experience is beyond even our imagination. We want to assure you, though, that we remain 100% committed to remembering and retelling your story to all who will listen, and even to those who won't. We sincerely thank you for having the courage and the koach after the Holocaust to choose life and to bring children into a world that had forsaken you. Our love, respect, and admiration go out to each and every one of our survivors. It is 2022, 5783 on the Jewish calendar, and anti-Semitism continues unabated worldwide. We, the descendants of survivors who were the remnant of European Jewry, we need the light of these candles, if only to remind ourselves that we are the spark that enables the light. We are also the voices that need to fight Holocaust revisionists, deniers, and the poison of the internet superhighway. We must bring our light to the dark world all around us. Our parents were the first targets of the final solution, but we, the second, third, and fourth generations, were the generations that Hitler, Yimach Shemo, intended never to be born. As we light these candles, we renew our commitment to remember what half the world is trying to deny and what the other half has already forgotten. Today, each of our candle lighters will have a chance to personalize this moment by sharing something that they would like us to remember. At this time, I would like to remind our candle lighters to unmute before speaking. The first candle. The first candle is in memory of our beloved grandparents, for whom many of us are named. The world stood silent while our grandparents were murdered by the Nazis and their collaborators. Giving their personal message and lighting the first candle in memory of our grandparents are survivor Regina Planner and her daughter 2G Renee Tannenbaum from Saratoga Springs, New York.
Shana Tova. My name is Regina Plaume, wife of Karl Plaume of blessed memory from Beijing, Grodziec. I'm honored to be here today to light the first Yizkor candle. I'm here with my daughter Renee Tannenbaum and my son-in-law Stephen Tannenbaum, representing our family who are in Zoom today, including my son Jacob Plaume and his wife Cindy. My 6 grandchildren, Jessica, Alyssa, Matthew, Jennifer, Jason, and Amanda, and the 5 great-grandchildren, Edison, Madeline, Preston, Blake, and Jordan. Hitler may have wanted to eradicate the Jews, but we are one example of family not only to survive, but has grown in numbers, God willing. We will continue to grow. Through the stories we have told and through the connections we have from this society, I know that each member of my family understands the importance of helping the world remember the horrors, the Holocaust, and to never forget. Unfortunately, not everyone has learned lessons. Even today, we see increasing anti-Semitism in the United States and across the world, making this remembrance even more important. Now I light this candle in memory of all who perished during the Holocaust. Shana Tova to everyone, and may we all be inscribed in the book of life. Thank you.
Amen. The second candle is in memory of the rest of our slaughtered families, aunts, uncles, and cousins we never knew, and for whom many of us are named, giving their personal message and lighting the second candle in memory of our slaughtered families, our survivor, Helen Bronner, and her daughter, 2G, Linda Seidenstein, from Manalapan, New Jersey.
We light this candle in memory of all those who perished during the Holocaust, including all of my grandparents, aunts, and uncles. In memory of all the survivors who have passed in more recent Sam Brown, my uncle, Sidra, and my son, Gertrude, all of blessed memory. We light this candle to honor the living survivors. Lastly, a prayer from the Union Prayer Book by the Central Conferences of grant us peace, your most precious gift. Bless our country.
Jerry, can you help her fix this?
Make strengthen the bond. May the blessed is
Okay, I'm sorry that we could not hear that. Linda, I don't know if you hear me. Can you hear me?
I do hear you, and
Okay, we did not hear your statement. Would you like to see if we can listen to it again?
can you hear me now? What?
Yes,
Okay, I'm sorry. I will speak again. Okay, I'm sorry.
I can't hear you. We heard you before, not now.
It's
Right now,
Okay, can you hear me now?
you go in and out.
I don't know what to do then. It's unmuted.
Okay, then just email me your statement and we will make sure we print it out so everyone can read it.
Okay, I will.
All right, Shana Tova, Shana Tova, okay. The third candle is in memory of all the families of the Zacks region who were murdered without leaving any surviving family. Today, we remember them and giving a personal message and lighting the third candle in memory of those without any surviving family will be my Shvesta, 2G Miriam Kos and her husband Jonathan from New York City. Jeremy, you have to go to Miriam Kos. There, you got it.
Thank you, Lorraine. And hello, everyone. We light this candle in honor and remembrance of my beloved parents of blessed memory, Tabla and Herzog Kaufman, survivors of Dachau, Bergen-Belsen, and Auschwitz, respectively, and grandparents on mother's side, David Reichman and Fagel Grinavies, and their 8 children murdered in Treblinka, and grandparents on father's side, Michael Kaufman and Miriam Elbaum, and their 3 children, also murdered. The FOBS Yizkor service is typically commemorated the weekend in between Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, the Yamim Noraim, the days of awe. We're already in the midst of our internal work, emotionally, spiritually, morally, cheshbon hanefesh, taking inventory of our behavior, actions, relationships, fears, and shortcomings, searching for and being present with that spark, that divine light and energy within each of us, deepening our relationship to ourselves, family, community, and God. Remembrance is an expression of our intention, our collective kavanah, and our consciousness that holds awareness of the genocide and all horrific crimes against humanity that define the Holocaust. It is with mindful, purposeful intention that we take action to safeguard our precious democracy, to protect and preserve our rights and freedoms, and quell the rise of fascism, authoritarianism, and anti-Semitism throughout our country and the world. It is with consciousness and intention that we remember today and hope for greater peace and justice for all. Gamar Chatima Tova, may we all be inscribed in the book of life. Shana Tova. We now light this candle.
Miriam, lower the screen, please, so we can see the candle. Thank you. Thank you. The fourth candle is in memory of the Jews of Poland. Out of 3.5 million Polish Jews before the war, only 500,000 lived through the terror of the Holocaust. Our parents represent the 20% who survived, giving their personal message and lighting the fourth candle for the 3 million Polish Jews who were murdered will be 2G Danny Elbaum and his wife Mary from Yerushalayim, Israel.
Thank you, Lorraine. My mother, Sala Elbaum, Zichrona Livracha, his maiden name was Bierman, was born in 1926 in Alkush, a small town located about 20 miles east of Bendin. In 1939, its approximate 3,000 Jews made up about 40% of the population. I've seen an estimate that only 150 survived. My mother and her two older siblings, Anna and Vov, endured slave labor and death camps. Her parents and her two younger brothers were murdered, most likely in Auschwitz. My father, Isaac Elbaum, Zichrono Livracha, was born in 1914, we think. In Bendin, he endured forced labor and survived using his amazing resourcefulness and tenacity. He was the oldest of 8 at the start of the war. 3 of his siblings also survived, Batsheva, Reuven, and Shlomo, who made their way to Israel during and after the war. My parents met after the war and were married in Germany in 1947. My brother Steve was born there in 1948. In 1949, they came to New York, where my sister Trudy was born a few years later, and I a few years after that. Our parents focused their energies on raising a family and on building a better future. Today, their descendants include wonderful grandchildren and beautiful great-grandchildren, including one on the way. In the Torah portion that we read in the week before Rosh Hashanah, the setting is it's 40 years after the Exodus. The Israelites are camped on the plains east of the Jordan River, just opposite Jericho, which, by the way, we have a pretty clear view of, which is just a couple of blocks from where we're sitting now. Moses is educating the Israelites, including 2G, 3G, maybe even a few 4Gers, the post-Exodus generations, about their shared history and exhorting them to remember and to choose life. My parents exhibited tremendous, unimaginable strength, spirit, and dignity, along with the other survivors, in choosing life, a choice that was monstrously taken from the 6 million. Mary and I are honored to light this candle in their memory and to have the privilege of doing so as residents of Yerushalayim.
Thank you. The fifth candle is for every Jew who has ever been murdered for simply being a Jew. Whether it was Auschwitz in Poland, Baba Yar in the Ukraine, the Olympics in Germany, Kosher Supermarket in Paris, or the murders of Jews in synagogues in California, Pennsylvania, we remember those murders today. Giving their personal message and lighting the fifth candle will be 3G Dr. Ariel Meyer and his wife, Dr. Shira Meyer from Ocean, New Jersey.
Good morning. My name is Ariel Meyer, son of Chaya and Stephen Meyer, grandson of Paula and William Meyer of blessed memory. My wife Shira and our daughter Shoshana could not be here today. Shoshana is currently participating in a program which records testimonies of the remaining Holocaust survivors called Names, Not Numbers. I cannot think of a better way for her to remember her great-grandparents. I light this candle in their remembrance. Esther Pesla Kotek, born October 25, 1925, Sosnowice, Poland, and Wolf Meyerowitz, born February 20th, 1918. I also wanted to kind of share a picture that I carry on my phone. I'm not sure we can see it well, but this is from our FOBS trip where we said Kaddish for those who perished at Auschwitz. And these are my grandparents' families: Berek Meyerowitz, Sarah Meyerowitz, Bronya Meyerowitz, Manis Meyerowitz, and then my grandmother's side, Pasya Kotek, Feigl Kotek, Etgut Kotek, Shwanka Kotek, and Noah Kotek. We remember them today as well.
The sixth candle. The world only knows of one Jewish child murdered during the Holocaust. That was Anne Frank. But we know the dreadful, horrific truth. 1.5 million Jewish children murdered before they could dream, murdered before they could achieve, and murdered before they could understand. Today, we light the sixth candle in memory of Alakinda, the 1.5 million Jewish boys, girls, and babies murdered during the Holocaust while the world shut its eyes and shut its heart. Giving his personal message and lighting the sixth candle will be Ron Goldowski and his son, Jeremiah.
Thank you. Jeremiah also couldn't be here, but I wanted to say my name is Ron Goldowski. I am the son of Francis Goldowski and Irving Goldowski, Zikrono Livracha, who is from Bendin. It is my honor and duty to light a candle at our annual Yizkor Memorial. An honor to be recognized and be a member of our society, and a duty as a child of a survivor and a new parent to remember the nearly 1.5 million Jewish children who perished in the Holocaust. We are thinking and remembering all of those neshamot as I am thinking of my young aunt. This is the only picture that we have of her. My young aunt, Tova Rachel Bas Eliyahu, Zichrono Livracha, who was a mere teenager when she perished in Auschwitz. She was the sister of my father and my uncle Irving and Sam Goldowski, and first cousin to Abe and Ben Gleitman. All had been proud and active members of this society. L'zecher nishmat hayeladim sheneheragu b'shoah.
Thank you to all of our candle lighters, and now to Alan.
Okay.
Go ahead. Sorry.
Okay. Thank you, Lorraine, Cantor Kaplan, and candlelighters for such a moving ceremony. My name is Alan Zacks. I am the son of Lily and Cy Zacks of blessed memory from Bendin, and today I'm the proud grandfather of 4G Orly Zucker, one of our earlier speakers. Our family has been actively involved for over 60 years in this Landsmannschaft, which is Yiddish for hometown society of Jewish immigrants from the same town, towns, or region. For you 3Gs and 4Gs, ask your parents, grandparents, or great-grandparents what Yiddish is. We don't have it on our screen.
No,
Okay.
I tried.
All right. Trust me, we're taking good care of the menorah that is used at our annual Yizkor at our cemetery in Beth Israel in Woodbridge. And the hope, and we've used it for years there, the hope is that next year we will be able to have our Yizkor ceremony at the cemetery with our menorah, and perhaps we can increase the accessibility by trying to incorporate a Zoom hybrid into next year's program, which would be our goal, so that we can include those members in abroad and all over the country, in Israel, etc., which has been a real mitzvah for this program. At this time, I would turn the program over to Jeremy.
Thank you, Alan. Shana Tova and Gemar Chatima Tova, everyone. Thank you for joining us today for our third Zoom Yizkor service. It is wonderful to see such active participation from so many once again. I know we would rather be in person, but we are grateful that this at least allows people from around the country and around the world to participate in the service when otherwise it wouldn't be possible. As we did last year, once again, we've chosen to support self-help in the US and in Israel, the UJA's Community Initiative for Holocaust Survivors. Self-help provides high-quality services and care to more than 4,300 survivors in the New York metropolitan area. And the UJA initiative similarly provides unparalleled services through a network of Israeli organizations that care for survivors in Israel. Funds donated will go directly to those two wonderful organizations, which enable survivors to maintain independence, dignity, and quality of life as they manage their day-to-day lives still vulnerable to COVID. We, of course, will make additional smaller grants to other worthy organizations. As my mom earlier mentioned, over the last 12 years, we have given more than $350,000 in aggregate to 18 different organizations. This is all thanks to your generous support and dedication to the cause. This year, our goal is to raise $25,000 for both programs, Self-Help and the UJA's Committee Initiative for Holocaust Survivors. After well exceeding our goal last year, we are pleased to say that we're well on our way to reaching our goal this year. To those who've already sent in your donation cards, we thank you for your unwavering generosity and support. For those who have not, we ask that you contribute whatever you can by sending in the donation card that you received in the mail. If you don't have your card, please reach out to one of our board members or send an email to fobs18@gmail.com, and we will make sure to send one to you. Thank you again for your enthusiastic participation this year, and we wish you and your families a new year filled with good health, happiness, and may you all be inscribed in the book of life. Lorraine?
Thank you. The cities and towns. These are the cities and towns in Poland that comprise the Zagłębia region. They are just strange sounding words to us, but they were home to our survivors. These are the cities and towns of their kindergarten, their childhood, where they laughed and played, where they dreamt and prayed. These are the cities and towns of our grandparents, aunts, uncles, cousins, and all the generations that came before. And today we will say Kaddish for those who would have loved us had they survived the Holocaust. Today we will also say Kaddish for those who perished in these towns with no surviving family. For in these cities and towns, each survivor, each child of a survivor, each grandchild of a survivor, each great-grandchild of a survivor is mishpacha, family. Bendin-Sosnowicer, Chelaj, Klimontov, Dandufka, Dombrova Gornicha, Goonug, Rojets, Savera, Lagisha, Machki, Miwovice, Mojeuv, Niemce, Nifka, Olkush, Piaski, Swavkuf, Shchemyashitsa, Volbrum, Vojkovice, Saguche, Zavierche, and Zonkovice.
El male rachamim, shochen במרומים, המצא מנוחה נכונה על כנפי השכינה, במעלות קדושים וטהורים, כזוהר הרקיע, מזהירים את נשמות אנשים, נשים וטף שנטבחו ושנשרפו ושנהרגו על ידי הצוררים הגרמנים הנאצים, יימח שמם וזכרם, ובמיוחד קרובינו וחברינו מאזור זגלמביה, ובמיוחד מבנדין ומסוסנוביץ, שהלכו לעולמם. בגן עדן תהא מנוחתם, אנא בעל הרחמים, הסתירם בסתר כנפיך לעולמים. וצרור בצרור החיים את נשמותיהם, אדוני הוא נחלתם. וינוחו בשלום על משכבותיהם. ונאמר
Hi, good morning, everybody, or good afternoon, actually. I'm Steve Elbaum. My brother just spoke of my parents, Isaac Elbaum of Bendin and Scheindel Bierman of Olkush. So I won't go over that, but here's my wife, Judy, who's also a child of survivors from the towns within Zaglembia.
Hi, so my parents, Fela, Rosemarin Ehrman, and David Ehrman, were Holocaust survivors. My mother, Fela, came from the town of Sosnowicer, and my father, David, came from the town of Zawiercie. Both sets of their parents, my grandparents, were murdered at Auschwitz. My grandparents Yaakov and Miriam Rosemarin, my aunts, Pesel and Zlatka Rosemarin, and from my father's side, my grandparents, my grandparents, Leibish and Yittel Ehrman were also murdered at Auschwitz. And I think of them and remember them today and every day.
Before we move into Kaddish, I would like to note with sadness the passing last Wednesday of Sandy Gottesman, the father of and father-in-law of Bendina members Bob Gottesman and my sister Trudy Elbaum Gottesman, and grandfather of members Benjamin Gottesman and Sarah Gottesman Hum. Last year, you indulged me a couple of minutes by letting me recite the names of my maternal ancestors, and our ancestors often have names that don't see the light of day. And I'd like to mention ancestors on my father's side this year, beginning with my great grandparents, Reuben Hersch Elbaum and Sura Abishitz, who were born in 1855 and 1859, respectively, in the Zaghlembia region. And as Miriam Kos mentioned before, included within the 12 children that Reuben and Sura had were Miriam Elbaum, who married Michael Kaufman, and they are Lorraine's grandparents as well as Miriam's. Of the 12 children that Reuben and Sura had, 9 were murdered in the Holocaust. 2 died before the war, and 1 made Aliyah to Palestine in the 1930s and survived. The children of my grandparents, among the children of Reuben and Sura Elbaum, were Yisrael Elbaum, for whom I'm named, and Ita Volhandler. Yisrael and Ita had 10 children, including my father, Isaac. Of the 10, 2 died before the outbreak of World War II. 3 were murdered in the Holocaust, and 5 survived, including my father, Isaac. I won't go into detail about the histories of my mother and father, as Danny did that so very well. I'll just conclude before Kaddish that I think it's within the last 12 months that the Jewish population of the world reached 15 million. That was the population of Jews around the world just before the start of the Second World War. So we have now caught up, so to speak, after almost 85 years since the Holocaust. And in remembering my ancestors and all of us remembering our ancestors and the many, many children that they had, and the many children that were murdered in the Holocaust, and remembering, if you will, the children that those children would have had, but for the Holocaust, the Jewish population today would probably be closer to 35 or 40 million. So our losses were tremendous and virtually irreplaceable. And we must never, and I know we don't, ever forget that. And we must be prepared at all times to resist, both verbally and otherwise, the aggression toward Jews, wherever they are, And we see such strong evidence of that throughout this world, on our college campuses, on the internet, and frankly, everywhere. It's inescapable. And we must never be comfortable. We must never, ever lose our sensitivity to the threat that's out there. So with that, I would like to say Kaddish. Yiskadal v'yiskadash shemei rabbah, b'yalmo divra kirusei, b'yamlik malchusei b'chayachon uv'yomechon uv'chayei dechol beis Yisrael, ba'agala uv'izman koriv v'imru amen. Yehei shmei rabbah mivorach le'olam olamai olmayo. Yisborach v'yishtabach v'yisborah v'yiskoman v'yisnasei, v'yisada v'yisalei v'yisalal shemei dekudisha v'richu. Lielo minkol birchosa v'shirosa, tushbechosa v'nechemasa, damiron v'yalma v'imvu amen. Yehei shlomo rabba min shemaya, v'chayin oleinu v'yal kol Yisrael, v'imru amen. Osei shalom b'momon, hu yasei shalom, oleinu v'yal kol Yisrael, v'imru amen.
Amen.
Shana tova.
The Partisanenlied. Sag nicht kein Mal, als du gehst dem letzten Weg. Hat Himmeln bleiene, verstellen bleie Tag. Kommen wird noch unser ausgebänkte Schau. Es wird abheugt an unser Trott, wir seinen da. Kommen wird noch unser ausgebänkte Schau. Es wird abheugt an unser Trott, wir seinen da. Von grünem Palmenland bis weiten Land von Schnee. Wir kommen an mit unser Bein, mit unser Weh. Und wo gefallen ist ein Spritz von unser Blut, sprotzen wird dort unser Gwurre, unser Mut. Und wo gefallen ist ein Spritz von unser Blut, sprotzen wird dort unser Gwurre, unser Mut. Das Lied geschrieben ist mit Blut und nicht mit Blei. Es ist nicht ein Liedl von a Vogel auf der frei. Das hat a Volk zwischen Fallen dick gewähnt. Das Lied gesungen mit Naganes in die Hand. Das hat a Volk zwischen Fallen dick gewähnt. Das Lied gesungen mit Naganes in die Hand. Sag nicht keinmal, als du gehst dem letzten Weg. Hat Himmeln bleiene, verstellen bläue Tag. Kommen wird noch unser ausgewendete Schau. Es wird abheugt an unser Trott, wir seien da. Kommen wird noch unser ausgebänkte Schau. Es wird abheugt an unser Trott, wir seien da.
This concludes our service. We are deeply touched by the moving and eloquent remarks from all our speakers. We thank our second generation speaker, Renee Pessin, and her son, Jacob, our third generation speaker, Jackie Algazi, and our two fourth generation participants, Noah Pfeffer, my grandson, and Orly Zucker, for sharing their inspiring and heartfelt thoughts with us. Thank you to Cantor Kaplan for his beautiful and dignified prayer service and musical accompaniment. And thank you to Steve Elbaum for leading us in the Kaddish and his powerful message. We're especially grateful to the 6 FOBS families and 4 generations who joined us for the candlelighting ceremony from all over the country and Israel to honor and so lovingly memorialize their loved ones. Special thanks to Lorraine Kaufman for her moving introduction of the candlelighters and the rendition of our cities and towns. Thank you to Alan Zacks, who shared with us some of the highlights of our FOBS history, and to Jeremy Pfeffer for his Yizkor appeal. If you would like to participate in next year's Yizkor service, please contact us at info@fobs18.org, and we'll publish that email address in future correspondence. We hope that today's remarkable speakers have inspired you to volunteer for next year. We are excited to announce that we have finally joined the 20th century and created a website. Stay tuned for more information, which will be released to you in the next few days. Again, our thanks to all our speakers and participants in today's service, to Jeremy and Jerry for hosting the Zoom event, and to all of you, wherever you are, for joining us. From all of us to you and your families, Shana Tova, a year of good health, happiness, prosperity, and peace. Gmar Chatima Tova. Next year in Woodbridge. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday.